Welcome back to another daily drop here on TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI publisher Andrew Jones, rowing this thing solo again today, as I usually do. It seems like the consistency of late has been I go solo in the middle of the week, and then I bring on a guest for Friday, and we will have a guest on the daily drop tomorrow on Friday. Give you a little tease. That's it. Not going to tell you what it's going to be about, but it will be a lot of fun. Today's topic, sudden change defense. Doesn't sound real sexy to a lot of people. Maybe a lot of people don't really know the term. It's very simple. When an offense turns over the ball, the defense has to suddenly get on the field and then do their thing. As opposed to you score, there's an extra point, there's a kickoff, the defense has time to sort of gather and get ready to have their plan. They get a message or so from the coach, they get on the field and they do what they got to do. Or if there's a punt, you know, when you're lining up the punt, defense gets together. If you watch a game, you can see them down there kind of get it coming together and they run out on the field collectively. But when there's a turnover, suddenly there's a change. They got to get out on the field. Or in the case of North Carolina in the South Carolina game, onside kick, that's sudden change defense. Beginning of the second half, that's the epitome of sudden change defense. So the defense has to get out there, and the reason they're getting out there in that situation is because a big negative happened. So before I go into this topic a little bit more quick. Okay, let me start over that part. All right, before I continue on, quick reminder, this show is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play fantasy sports. We'll have a word from them in a few moments, but let me kind of continue on here. So if you've ever played football and you're on, and let's say you're just playing defense, when you're on the sideline, you're not always watching the game. If you watch the guys, you'll see how they sit. The chairs are sort of at almost like a semicircle a little bit, and they have coaches down there talking to them, and they usually sit in position groups. They almost always sit in position groups, certainly in college. Yeah, I would say usually in high school too. And they're getting instructions. They're talking about what kind of splits the offensive line has, and, you know, some of the cadence, if there is a cadence, and some of the motion stuff, some of the things that are confusing them, or some of the things that are working well, you want to keep doing it, that kind of thing. There's constant communication going on. So the offense gets the ball, defense is over there, they're getting settled, they're getting drinks, whatever it is. They're in the middle of that discussion, and boom, there's a turnover. Sudden change, they got to go on the field. They pick up their helmet. If they have a loose mouthpiece, pick that up, run on the field, and you got to immediately play. You got to be ready to go. It's very different than those other circumstances. There's a stress to it. It is a part of the game that a lot of coaches with younger teams are very concerned about, because they don't make that adjustment. They don't make that moment adjustment very well. They're stressed and overwhelmed by the moment, even if they're very talented. North Carolina this year has handled that exceptionally well. I'm going to go into that in just a minute and tell you why. But first, let's go ahead and hear a word from Underdog Fantasy.
I'm very excited to announce our new partnership with Underdog Fantasy. We decided to partner with Underdog because it's the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and it's also the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. Now, Underdog Fantasy has a lot to offer, including their Pick'em game. And in Pick'em, you pick whether your favorite players will have a higher or lower stat total in this week's game for a chance to win big. It's so easy to play. Just pick 2 to 5 stats of your favorite players and choose whether they'll go higher or lower. You can 20x your money by going 5 for 5. They also have a Best Ball Mania. If you think you know football, definitely need to check this one out. This year's Best Ball Mania has $15 million in total prizes up for grabs, with the winner taking home $3 million. So sign up today with promo code HEAL and get your first deposit doubled by up to $100. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store. And don't forget to register with promo code HEAL, HEEL, to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. You must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms do apply. And if you are concerned with your play, call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Back to the show.
So In the South Carolina game, Drake May threw 2 interceptions, and South Carolina recovered an onside kick to start the second half. No turnovers against App. Minnesota, Drake throws 2 interceptions. One of them was returned to Carolina's 16-yard line. So what happened? A lot of teams are going to give up touchdowns, especially in the situation with Minnesota. But instead, Gene Chizik's defense bowed up. They've allowed 2 field goals in those 5 sudden change situations. That is exceptional. That is outstanding defense. And it is a reflection of, I think, one of the biggest differences in this team now as opposed to a year ago. I asked Gene about it on Monday. He said, well, they know the defense better. So they're not looking around. Their head's not spinning when they get out there. They're a little bit more clued in with what they need to do immediately. So whatever words were said on the sideline a year ago, that last word before you go out there, or whatever it is, I'm trying to say this in a way a lot of people will understand. They don't need that as much right now. If Cedric Gray's over getting a drink or adjusting an arm pad or whatever it is, all of a sudden, defense, number 1 defense, and they got to run out on the field. He knows what to do. He knew what to do last year, but he knows more now because he knows the system better. He knows the defense better. All the guys out there know better. So the communication is more concise immediately with what they see, especially when a lot of teams like to take a shot right away when they get a turnover, because they know sudden change defense is stressed. Sometimes teams are already on their heels when the ball is snapped. This group has been different. They bowed up. Another factor is they're very mature. There's a lot of experience. I did something about a month ago where of the expected guys in the rotation defensively, 17 entering the season, 17 had played at least 1,000 college snaps. 17. Or 14 had played at least 1,000 college snaps. 17 had played at least 700 college snaps. They have 6 college graduates in the rotation on defense. They got a bunch of old dudes. Think about this past week. Armani Chapman steps in. He's a college graduate. He played 49 games, started 25 times at Virginia Tech. He knows what he's doing out there. Stick Lane, catching up with the communication after missing most of August with an injury. He's a college graduate. He's a 3-time All-Sun Belt guy. He's a guy that when North Carolina played down at Georgia State last year, the Carolina staff identified him and said, that guy's instinctual. He's got football instincts. And when Lane hit the portal, Carolina knew exactly who he was, and they went after him right away. And the more he gets comfortable with all of the communication and makes up for that lost time, you're going to see him on the field. He played 27 snaps the other day. And he's going to be an asset to this team. Don Chapman's played a lot of football. Gio Biggers. Power Echols, now a very experienced guy. Cedric Gray, NFL player. Kamen Rucker, NFL player. Amari Gaynor, 6th year. Look up front, Des Evans, 4th year. Miles Murphy, 4th year. Damari Fox, he was on the 2019 team, played a lot of snaps. I can go on and on. Kevin Hester, been around. This club has so many old guys on defense. They're cagey veterans, but they're also athletic. They also have a bit of nastiness to them. There's a nasty streak over there now. And they know how to handle panicked moments by not panicking. So sudden change defense is something to continue watching with this team. They don't want to be in that very often. Drake's thrown 4 interceptions so far. They don't want to drop the ball, put the ball on the field, and turn it over on fumbles. But when that does happen, this club has proven in 5 situations against Power 5 opponents that they are more than capable of bowing up and keeping the opponent from getting in the end zone. 5 occasions, 2 field goals. That is fantastic. And to me, that is an underlying stat that tells you an awful lot about where this defense is now versus a year ago. Ultimately, the most important stat is points allowed for a defense. People can, moan about first downs allowed and Carolina's 93rd in total defense and Chizik's not getting the job done and all that kind of crap. As long as his team keeps other clubs out of the end zone, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. And so far, they've done a very good job of that, and they have been outstanding sudden change defense. If you like Carolina's improvement in sudden change defense, go ahead and like this video. If you're excited about the idea that this veteran, mature, experienced, smart team is going to get better across the board to match its sudden change defense, go ahead and click like. Make sure you share this video with your friends, subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell so you get updates every time we post a video, which is often. We do the daily drop just about every day during the week. Got the football show, got basketball shows coming up. Jacob and I do an ACC pod every week now. We got a lot of stuff, lots of stuff for you guys, but we have a ton more on our channel or over on our site, TarHeelIllustrated.com, just $8.33 a month. You can be an insider too. I'm AJ, and remember, we got a guest tomorrow. See you then.